This video is on the law of cosines worksheet. We had done the first problem in class. We had done notes in class. I'm going to re-talk about the formulas, and then I'm going to redo one, and then I'll do the rest of the worksheet. Again, use this video as a reference. Try the problems first. Come to the video to see which ones you weren't understanding and see how to do them. So I am going to just go through the formula real quick, or the different versions of it. Okay, so if I have a triangle, okay, and then for these we're dealing with not right triangles, just any triangle. And this is angle A, big capital A, and this is little a, which is a side across from it. And let's say this is angle B, and this is little b, which is a side across from it. And then we have angle C, and that has this little c as a side opposite it. Now, depending on what we know, we're going to be finding different things, okay? So if I know angle A and I am looking for little a, I would do this following. A squared is equal to, and now I am going to use the other ones, okay? So I'm just going to put the other ones in just, my main focus is a squared. I'm going to use the other two sides. B squared plus C squared minus, let me shrink this a little bit, and then it's going to be 2B times C, these two sides again, times, and then it's going to be cosine of A. And what you want to make sure you do at the end is you need to remember to square root. You need to remember to square root. Okay, if I'm trying to find B, okay, little b, and I know angle B, I'd be dealing with B squared is equal to, and just like up here, I'm going to use the other two sides. So if I'm using B here, I'm going to be dealing with the A and the C. So this is going to be A squared plus C squared minus, and again, 2A times C, these two, not this letter, times cosine, and this time it's going to be cosine B. And if I'm dealing with the C's, okay, angle C and side C, similar idea, C squared is equal to, and then I'm going to do not C, so A squared and B squared minus 2, and again, A times B, and times cosine of C. Okay, that is going to be the formula. Now, if I am trying to find an angle, I can always just use these formulas that I'm circling here. And if I'm trying to find angle A, I could use this formula. Angle B, I would use this one that I have, the orange, and angle C, I would use this one. But I'm going to have to rearrange it. So sometimes it's easy to have it in a rearranged manner, but you can always just use this and then manipulate it, okay? I am going to write a version of trying to find cosine of A, cosine of B, cosine of C, and all I'm doing is rearranging these. But you could always plug into these if you're stuck and lost and can't remember it, okay? So let's say I'm dealing with trying to find cosine A. So what I'm going to end up doing if I'm looking at this formula, okay, I am going to have, I'm going to take this minus 2bc times cosine A and put it onto this side, okay? So I'm going to just kind of work this one out, and then I'm going to erase part of the work. So I would have put the 2bc times cosine of A on this side. So I basically added it here. It's gone. I added it here. Now, when I add it, I'd have this a squared over here. I don't want that a squared over here, so I'm going to subtract it, which means I would have had b squared plus c squared still. Okay, again, this got moved over to the other side, and now I'm going to subtract my a squared. Then I am going to divide by this 2bc. Okay, so I divide this side by 2bc. It's going to be gone. I divide this side by 2bc, and I end up with cosine A equals, or cosine B equals if I did it with this one, or cosine C equals. So I'm just going to write it in this form, okay? So, but that's how I derived it, but you can just use it, or you can use the original one. Okay, so let me just get rid of this. Okay, so let me color code again. Okay, so if I'm dealing with A, okay, and this time I'm trying to find the angle, okay, I could use these formulas, or so I don't have to do solving, I could use the following. Cosine of A is equal to, and then what I'm going to do is I am going to have not A, the other two sides, so the B and the C, B squared plus C squared, and then it's minus the A squared over 2 times B times C. Let me write that B better. And that would be for angle A, okay? And then I'm going to do the same for cosine B and cosine C. So cosine B would be cosine B. This is when I'm trying to find angle B. And again, I'm going to use not B. So I'm going to have A squared plus B, C squared minus, now it's my B squared, over 2 times A times C. Okay. And I'm going to put in my B in orange here, so you just have it kind of color coded. So here's my B squared, and let me do the same up here with my A squared. Okay. And then the last one I'm going to do is my C. But again, same idea. Okay, sorry. So now I'm going to do C. So cosine of angle C is equal to, and again, if I'm using C, that means on the other side, I'm going to start with my other two letters, A and B. I'm going to push this up a little. So I'm going to have A squared plus B squared minus, and then my C squared over 2 times A times B. And this is going to be the ones that I can use to find my angles. Again, these are all the same formulas. I just rearrange them, so it's nothing new. Now, for these ones, at the end, what I'm going to have to do is I am going to have to do the inverse. So at the very end, and this is how I personally think of it, I am going to have to take the inverse, cosine inverse of each of these in order to find the angle. You need to use inverse to find angle. So I'm just going to write that here. Need to use cosine inverse to find angle. So when I do these, I actually think about these this way. Okay, it is cosine A, but my A is going to equal cosine inverse. So I'm not going to have room to write it all here, but cosine inverse of all of this would come here. Okay. Okay, so I just wrote these out, just showing you that eventually what's going to happen is when I want to find cosine of A, when I need to find angle A, and I'm using this cosine of A, My final answer isn't going to be this that I compute. That's going to be what the cosine equals. I need the angle. So I need to use cosine inverse to find the angle. So I would take the cosine inverse of this side, which would leave me with A, and I would take the cosine inverse of this side, which would give me this. And I would put that into my calculator. Same idea for B and for C. So a lot of times I will compute this, and in my calculator, I will do cosine inverse of this straight into my calculator. So I don't have to be getting decimals and things like that. Okay. But again, all of these come from this. This is if I'm dealing with angle A and side A, B and side B, C and side B. These ones are, this is more if I want to find the side, that's the easy way to compute. These ones, if I need to find the angle, are easier to compute. And remember, when you're trying to find an angle, you need to find the inverse of that, cosine inverse of that. Okay, so now I'm going to get started on the assignment. Okay. So in this case, let me first, so we have triangle ABC. They are generally gonna, sometimes I'll draw it out for you, but a lot of times you have to draw it out. And it doesn't matter where you put A, B, and C. That doesn't matter. Okay, so you choose your angle A, B, and C. Now, once you choose that, and you want to make sure that you're matching things up. So here, let me just, I color code this maybe. Okay, so let's say that this is A, this is going to have to be little b. And let's say that if this is angle B, then this is going to have to be little b. And if this is angle C, whoops, pick the same color. If this is angle C, then this is going to be little c, okay? So that's where everything is. Now I'm going to be putting in the information I know. So I know that my B is 72. Okay, so my B is 72 degrees. I know that my A is 8. So in place of this A, I'm going to put 8. And I know that my little c, okay, is 7. So in place of that, I'm going to put 7, okay? And then they want us to solve. So when they say solve, that means I need to find every piece of this, okay? So the very first thing I'm going to do looking at this is I know this side, I don't know this side. And if I was going to use like a law of sine versus law of cosine, for law of sine, I need to know an angle and a side of one of these three. Okay, because we do sine of 72, for example, over sine of B equals sine of whatever angle A is over side 8. And I need to know 3 bits of information. I would need to know, for example, these 2 pieces. And then if I knew the 8, I could find this angle. So in this case, I don't know any pair. I don't know a pair with my A's. I don't know a pair with my B's. And I don't know a pair with my C's. So I'm going to use law of cosines. And so if I was to find B, then I could basically just do law of sines the rest of the way. Okay, so I am going to use law of sines for B. Law of cosines for B. So I'm going to do B squared is equal to basically A squared plus C squared, the other 2 letters, minus 2 times A times C times, and I'm going to just move this, see if I can move this. See if I can get all of this on. Move this over. Give myself some more space. Okay. Times cosine of B. Okay. So let me just kind of highlight this real quick. So this is not my answer, but this is what I'm using. Okay, that's what I'm using. So now let me just stick everything in here, okay? So my b squared, don't know it, that's gonna be b squared, equals my a squared is 8, so 8, my a is 8, so 8 squared plus 7 squared minus 2, my a is 8, my c is 7, cosine of 72, okay? So now I am going to put this in my calculator. That's all I'm going to do. So I'm going to go b squared is equal to, and I'm going to put that into my calculator. Now, I am going to be taking the square root of this here in a second, so I need to remember that. So I'm going to be doing 8 squared. I'm just going to type in 8 squared 64. So 64 plus 49, which is 7 squared minus 2 times 8 times 7. Make sure your calculator's in degrees the whole entire time we're doing this trig. Cosine of 72, whoops, 72, and I get 78.39, okay? So I get 78.39, let's say. And then I'm going to take the square root of that is what I'm going to do. Okay, I'm going to take the square root of this side. I'm going to take the square root of this side, okay? And when I take the square root of that, a couple ways you could do that quick. If I raise it to 1/2 or I raise it to 0.5, that actually is the square root. Okay, that takes, when we raise something to the 1/2 or 0.5 power, you're square rooting it. I could also have gone second and the x squared button. So I did the second and the x squared button to get my square root. And then you can either just take your last answer. If you want to be more accurate, take this whole thing. Come up here and get that whole thing you did. And so myself personally, I usually just start with this. I'll put in my square root and do that. But you can do your square root and then just come snag it. And all I do is I just arrowed up and then I hit return. Okay, but I got my square root there first. So I see we get 8.85. So when you're doing this, if you're getting like a really big side, when you're, like if I got 78.39 and I didn't square root it, take a look and go, hey, these are 7 and 8. And this is a 72 out of the rest of 180. So it's a decent size angle. Probably not going to have a 78.39 there. You probably forgot to square root. Okay, so this is going to be one of my answers. And so now I know this, so I am going to put that there, okay, so that we can see it. So this is now 8.85, okay, so now you see I have a pair that I know, so I can do law of sines the rest of the way if I want, or I could use the cosine of A formula or the cosine of C formula. I can do that also, okay, if you prefer. I personally think it's easier sometimes just to do the law of sines and law of cosines. I think you're going to remember that formula easier. So I'm going to do sine of 72 over 8.85 equals, and I'm going to deal with, let's say I find A. So sine of A over 8, and then I'm going to cross multiply and work this out, okay? So when I do that, I'm just going to do all this in black now that I kind of set that up. I'm going to have 8 sine 72 is equal to 8.85 sine A over, because I'm going, so that's what I got, okay? And now I'm going to divide. So I multiplied this together and I got this. I multiplied this together and I got this. Now I want to get rid of this 8.85. So I'm going to divide both sides by 8.85, 8.85. And I'm going to end up finding my sine A. And my sine A is going to equal, let me put that into my calculator. So here, I'm going to do this. Sine A equals. And so when I'm doing that in my calculator, just get this. Okay, when I'm doing this in my calculator and I'm taking sine A of this because these are gone, this and this are gone now because those are going to cancel out. So I'm putting that in my calculator. I'm going to do alpha y equals, so I just have it as a fraction. And then I can just type on the top. So that's going to be 8 sine of 72 over 8.85. Okay, so that's what I get. I get a 0.88597. Okay, I get a 0.8597. I am going to now have to do the inverse of this. Okay, why? Because this is my angle that I need to find. So anytime it's an angle, I need to do the inverse. So now I'm going to do sine inverse of this to get my A. Okay, that's what I'm doing to get my A. And so I am going to basically take this and I'm going to do second and sine inverse of this. And I'm actually just going to steal it from up here. Okay. And I get a 59.28. So 59.28 is equal to A. Okay. Now I'm going to do the same for angle C. And I apologize on this worksheet. I'm not the one who designed this worksheet. I did not, there's not as much space as I personally need because I am a big writer. But if you are doing this on Cami, the nice thing is you can select things and shrink things down. Let me see. I'm going to pause for a second and see if I can do that. So I was trying to see if I could shrink this, and I can't shrink that. But what I'm going to do, and this is what you can do too, is I still need this, but I don't want it here while I'm doing this work. You can add a page. Now, I added a page onto this. That's what I did. Hold on, I'm not on my computer. I'm trying to do with my mouse. That's not going to help. I'm on my tablet. At the end of the thing here, you guys should have a plus. I actually added a page. All of this I did on an extra page. Okay. So when you get to the bottom, you should see a plus, and you could add a blank page or a lined page or a graph page. And so you can just add the page. Okay. And let's say this time I don't do lined. I just did lined before to kind of keep myself on straighter writing. Let's say I put blank. That's hard to see that, sorry. So if we get closer, say if I turn the snap off. No, that's not helping here. Give me one sec. Okay, so I switched over to my computer just to show you guys. Let me just make sure I'm sharing the right screen with you guys. I wanted to have you guys see that number one, that you can switch back and forth. But if you have a situation like this where maybe you need more space and there's not enough space, the nice thing on Cami, and I'm just showing you this on the computer because it's just easier for you to see what I'm doing on this than through the document cam on my and then go into my tablet. So if you select, and so this select, I come here to this one down here that says select annotations, select it, and you can change the color, you can change the thickness. I was hoping you could shrink and enlarge, but you can't. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy it. Okay, I copied it. And then I'm gonna add a page. Now, I've already added a page, and actually I added 2 pages onto this because I was practicing a second ago. And so this page that I started our notes on, I added this page. So if you go to the very end, and I know some of us do this, some of us know this, and this is the second page I added. So I'm gonna add a 3rd page right now, just so you can see. So right here, if you go to this plus, you can add more pages. You can choose blank, lined, grid, which will be like graph paper or music. I'm just gonna do blank, okay? And then add, and then it's gonna add that. So now I'm gonna have couple extra pages because I did that. Okay, and so now I've got extra pages. Okay, and so I'm going to go to the second one here. And what I can do now is I can paste that. Hold on, I think I lost the thing here. Let me do it one more time. Okay, so I'm going to come here. I would add the page first, And then I'm going to come and I'm going to copy. And then, yeah, see, I still have this up here, but when I went and added pages, that option disappeared. Okay, so add your page first. And then I'm going to paste, and it pasted it here for me. And then I can, since I'm not on a computer that I can write on right now, I'm just going to type problem, problem 1, and then I can have this here, and I'm going to re-select it for a sec, and I can move it here. Okay, and now I've got that there. And then I can come up here, and this one I don't need anymore. Okay, so I'm going to reselect it, and I'm going to delete this one, and now I can do the other one. Okay, and then I'm just going to make a little note here. I'm going to say work on back page. Okay. And I can, if you want to kind of highlight, because maybe I don't want to go through this stuff, this is to fill, so that's going to cover things. This one here is like a highlight, but actually I guess I need to highlight it and then do it. Okay, and there you go. Now we can work. So I'm sorry to take some time out of the video, but I thought it's kind of nice for you guys to know how to manipulate, because there's a lot of nice things that you can do with this if you understand and have tried this. So I'm going to get back to my tablet and finish the rest of this. And again, it goes back and forth between I'm on my computer and I'm on my tablet, and it's going to be this. I'm going to see it on both. So I'm back on my tablet, and right now I'm not seeing it here added in. It is, I'm just going to arrow out of this and back into it. Let's see, usually it keeps me in it, and just have it reopen. Okay, and you see now I do have that here. So this is on my second page, okay, or actually my third page. Get back to it. Sorry for the delay. Okay, and so it's there. And then as I come here, this is what the notes I was doing with you guys. Okay, and there you go. It's all back. So now let me finish the problem. On this, and so I might be moving things here and there, but I will pause it. But I just want to show you the process of how I was doing that. Okay, so I found A, and I found an A. Let me just so I put that on the back. So now and I found B, so now I'm going to find C. Okay. So for C, again, since I now have this pair, because I use law of cosines to get this side, I am going to do law of sines again, is what I'm going to personally do. I prefer to do that. So I'm going to do sine of C over 7 is equal to, and use the one, I know we didn't really know any of these, but this is the one I found originally. I'm just going to use this one again. So I'm going to be using sine of 72 over 8.85. I'm going to cross multiply and solve. And so when I cross multiply that, I get 7 sine of 72 equals 8.85 sine of C. Okay, that's what I end up getting. So, okay. And now I am going to divide both sides by 8.85. Okay. And so I'm going to get 7 sine of 72 over 8.85 is equal to sine C. Now, myself personally, I usually go from this step to the step I'm going to do next because I know that I'm going to be finding the inverse of this. So I am going to basically be doing sine inverse of this whole thing. Okay, and what I can do, let's see if this will work for me. Sometimes that's easier for me on my computer. Here, let me use this. I'm going to see if I can snag just want, I don't want that whole thing. See if I can just snag a bit of it. Hmm. Well, here, I mean, I can just, no. You can do it. I'm just not right now coordinated enough, I guess. So I was just going to take this and copy this, and you can. I probably can do it better on the computer. So I'm just going to write it. Stop being lazy. I'm just going to write it. Okay. So I'm going to have 7. Whoops. Now it's going to select that. I'm in select still. I'm going to have 7 sine of 72 over 8.85 is equal to C, and I'm going to put that in my calculator. Now, the nice thing is, earlier I had done almost the same thing. If you look, I have 8 sine 72 over 8.85. So I'm going to actually come and snag this, okay, which is sine inverse of, and I'm going to come change this to a 7. Oops. Sorry, I'm trying to balance this to a 7. And I get 48 point, let's say 79 degrees. So C equals 49.78 degrees. Okay, next one. I'll go faster on the rest of these since I'm not going to be explaining that type of stuff. Okay, so this one here, okay. Okay, so on this one, I'm going to draw my triangle up here, give myself more space. Okay, so A, B, C, and A is going to be 95 degrees. So I'm just come in here a little smaller, 95 degrees. My B and my B is 11. So across from this B is going to be 11. And across from this C is going to be 9. Okay. And so what you'll notice is I have side angle side here. I can easily find this side, and then once I know this side, then what I can do is I can use law of sine after I find this. So if I find this using law of cosine and I get a pair, then I can use my law of sines. Or I can use those cosine inverse, the ones for the angles. Okay, so for this, I am going to, again, I'm going to be finding little a right now is what I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to be doing a squared is equal to b squared, which is 11 squared, plus c squared, which is 9 squared, minus 2 times my B, which is 11, and my C, which is 9, times cosine of A, which is 95 degrees. Okay, put that into my calculator. And since I'm going to be taking the square root of both sides, let's get a different color. I am going to take the square root of this side, and I'm going to get A. And I'm going to take the square root of this whole thing to get my final answer. So I'm going to put that straight into my calculator. Okay. So I'm going to do second and x squared to get my square root. And then I'm going to do 11 squared, which is 121, 9 squared, which is 81, minus 2 times 11 times 9 times cosine of 95. And I end up getting 14.81 if I round. Okay, so 14.81. 14.81. So that is my A. So now here, this is 14.81. Okay. So now I can just use law of sines if I want. Or I can do law of cosines. So let's say I do law of sines, and I'm trying to find, let's say, next I'm trying to find, let's say B. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do sine of 95 over 14.81 equals sine of B over 11. I'm going to cross multiply and solve. And so I'm going to get, I'm going to space it out over here more, 14.81 sine of B equals 11 sine of 95. I'm going to divide both sides by 14.81. So I'm going to get sine of B is equal to 11 sine of 95 over 14.81. Now, what I'm going to do is, this is sine of B. I want actual B. So I'm going to really be taking the sine inverse of both sides. I'm just going to write that in. I usually don't write it in, but I just want you guys to see what I'm doing. So I'm taking the sine inverse of this side, and I'm going to take the sine inverse of the other side. Give me one sec. So again, I wrote sine inverse of this and sine inverse of this. I usually don't physically write that out, okay? Usually from this step, I will just write this sine inverse, but I just wanted you guys to see what I'm doing. Okay, so now I am going to be computing this. And so really what I'm going to end up getting is, this is B. When I take sine inverse of sine, they undo each other. I'm left with B, okay, angle B. And then I'm going to be putting this into my calculator, basically, okay? And so I'm going to do second and sine. And then I'm going to get the fraction. So I'm going to do alpha y equal, and I'm going to hit enter. And then I'm going to put in 11 sine 95 over 14.81. And if you're worried about me closing parentheses, if I wasn't doing it in this fraction form, I definitely need to close my parentheses, but in this form, it's going to compute the top and compute the bottom. If I want to be official, I probably should close both of them, but you don't have to. I get 47.72, 47.72 degrees. Okay. And I'm just going to draw a line just to kind of organize myself. And I'm going to do basically the same thing, but this time I'm going to be looking for angle B. I'm sorry, angle C. So let's say I do C in like a purple. Okay, so we're looking at C here. So again, I'm basically going to copy this whole thing here. I'm going to do sine of 95 over 14.81 equals, and that's a 14. I don't want people to think it's a 9. 14. Okay, and on the other side, I'm going to have sine of c over 9, and I'm going to cross multiply. And so I'm going to get 14.81 sine c equals 9 sine 95. Okay. I'm going to end up getting sine c equals 9 sine 95 over 14.81. And then for C is going to equal sine inverse of this. Okay, so we'll just move this over. See if I can move it up away from that page number. Okay, so 9 sine 95 over 14.81. Can't write my fours today. And I'll put that into my calculator. And now, let me see if I put this here, if I can actually have it flat without changing everything. Okay, so I'm actually going to come up here and snag this. And you'll notice that all I need to change here is actually the 9. So I'm going to go delete and then 9. And I didn't delete everything. Okay, I just deleted the one, the extra one. Otherwise, I'm just going to type over. And I get a 37.26. So C equals 37.26 as my answer. Okay, and so that is solving. We found our A, little a, we found our B, we found our C. Solving means find everything that's not given to you. Okay, next problem. So on this one, they want us to solve for all missing sides and angles. Okay, so it's the same problem basically. Okay, same problem, just wording it slightly different. Okay, so I need to find my little a, okay, and I need to find my angles. So, and I know these sides. So again, I know side, angle, side. I don't know enough to do a sine, law of sine problem because I don't have a pair of anything, okay, meaning angle and side across. So I'm going to be doing law of cosines for this one here. So let me, and I'll write my answers up here. Okay, so I am going to do a squared is equal to b squared plus c squared minus 2 bc times cosine of a. Okay, I'm just going to move this. I just wanted to show you guys the one I'm using. Let's see, let me select it again. Select. And then I'll just move it up here, okay? Okay, so that's the one I'm going to be using. So now let me put in my information. Okay, so I am going to do a squared is equal to, my b is 400, these are going to be big numbers, 400 squared plus my c is 375 squared, minus, so minus 2 times my a and my c times cosine of my a. And I'm going to put that into my calculator. And what I'm actually going to do to save a step is I am going to square root the whole thing and and I'm going to write it up here so I've got space, a equal, okay, a equal. So I'm going to put that into my calculator. Let's see if I can move this out. Okay. So I'm going to, that's a 35. So I'm going to go square root, and I'm going to put all that in. 400 squared plus 375 squared minus 2 times 400 times 375 times cosine of 35. And when I put all that in, I end up with 234.26. So 234.26. Okay, that's my A. Okay, now I'm going to find everything else. So this is going to be 2.34, sorry, 200. I'll just kind of put it here so I've got space to write 234.26. So I'm going to use law of sines. Okay. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find, let's say, B. Okay, I'm going to find B. It's a little thicker. So for B, I'm going to do sine of 35 over 234.26 equals sine of B over 400. And I'm going to cross multiply and solve. Now, I'm going to say this. When I'm cross multiplying, let me just kind of get a different color and let me make it a little fainter. Okay. So when I'm cross multiplying, I'm going to be multiplying these together. Okay. And I'm going to be multiplying these together. So I'm going to be getting 400. Let me make it not as faint anymore. I'm going to be getting 400 sine of 35 when I multiply this. And then here, I'm going to be getting these to multiply together. Okay. So what's going to happen is I am actually going to divide eventually by my 234. So what I tend to do is I would do sine B equals over 234.26 because I know I multiply this together, got this, I multiply this together, and what's going to happen is since I want to solve for this, I'm going to divide. And then I want B, not this. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take sine inverse is what I'm going to do. Okay, I'm going to do sine inverse. So I'm going to do sine inverse of this whole quantity here because I want to find that angle. So I'm going to do alpha, y equal, get my fraction, 400 sine 35, I'll be official and close my parenthesis, over 234.26. And then I end up with 78.35 if I push it up because of that 5. Okay, so my B, let me put it up here, my B is equal to, sorry, 78.35, 78.35, 78.35. Try it one more time. Okay. 7. Okay, try it one more time. 78.35 degrees. That's my B. Now I'm going to do C. And again, as I'm doing this, I'm kind of taking you guys one step away from, each time to kind of show you guys maybe faster ways of doing this. So here, again, I'm going to be doing basically the same idea, sine of 35 over 234.26 equals sine of C over 375. I'm going to cross multiply, and then I'm going to take C inverse. So I'm going to cross multiply, and I'm going to give myself some space to write this over here, okay? I'm going to get 375 sine of 35, okay, when I multiply this direction, equals, and what happens here is I'm going to have sine C times this. So this 234.26 will be dividing. And then this is what sine C equals. Well, I don't want sine C, I want C. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. I'm going to do C equals sine inverse of this whole thing. Okay, it's the same thing I'm doing here, but I'm just kind of, um, I understand that this sine C is going to be on this side, but I want C, so I'm going to take the sine inverse of both sides. Just trying to save you guys a step. If that's too confusing, work it out like I did the other ones. I'm going to come and snag this from before and look and see what's changed. Really, the only thing that needs to change is the 375. So 375, and I end up with 66.66. So my C is equal to 66.66 degrees. Okay. So again, if it's too confusing how I did it here, I'm just trying to show some of us who understand maybe some faster ways of writing this out. We are cross multiplying. Take the cross multiply. You can have your 234 in front of this sine B. Then we're going to divide both sides. That's what I basically did here. And then my last step is going to be B equal, which means I need to take the sine inverse. Okay. Okay. Just going to undo my scribble. Okay. So on the next one, solve for C. Okay, that's all we're doing, solving for C. So pay attention to what we know. This is a 5, this is an 8, this is a 9. And I want to find my angle C here. That's what I want to find, okay? So I'm going to be doing cosine C equal, okay? And so if this is a C, then I'm going to have A squared plus B squared, okay? And then this is the one where it's the cosine C formula, minus C squared, little c squared, over 2 times B, sorry, A times B. Forgot which letter I'm using. A times B. And I want cosine, I want the angle, so I'm going to basically take the cosine inverse of this. So I am going to get C equals cosine inverse of, and let me plug in what I know, okay? So my A is 9, my B is 5, minus my A, which is, sorry, so apologize. My A is 9, my B is 5. I'm finding C is 8. All over 2 times my A and my B, okay? Now, so, and maybe sometimes it might help if I kind of focus that these two are the ones that match up. So the ones I didn't circle are the other ones, okay? So my other ones are going to go here. And then I just put this straight into my calculator, and that's my answer. So I'm going to do cosine inverse, and I'm going to get my fraction. So I'm doing alpha y equal, and I hit enter. And then I'm going to go 9 squared plus 5 squared minus 8 squared over 2 times 9 times 5. Now, if I'm doing this not in the fraction mode, I definitely would need parentheses around my whole numerator and parentheses around my whole denominator inside my cosine inverse. So I like using that alpha y equal. It saves time. So it's going to be 62.18 degrees, answer. Okay. Okay, so next one. Here they're asking us to find the area. Okay, they're asking us to find the area. So for the area problems, we have the formula that area, I'm going to write the word area, is equal to, and in this case, the angle I know is this. And so you'll notice I've got side, angle, side, which is what I need for cosine, law of cosines. But remember, we also have that side, angle, side when we're dealing with area of triangle. And so if I know this one R, okay, this one here is like my little p, and this is like my little q because it's a cross. If I know this angle, I need to know the sides that are not opposite it, okay? And then the formula is going to be 1/2, or 0.5 if you prefer, times the two sides that make the angle, which is my 7.4 and my 6.5. Definitely having writing issues today. Okay, let me just erase this. Okay, so 6.5. Let me pause for a sec. Okay, so again, 1/2, these two sides that make this angle times sine of the angle that we know the sides between, and then put that in your calculator, okay? So when I put that in my calculator, it's going to be, I'm going to put it in as a 0.5 times 7.4 times 6.5 times sine of 58. And I end up with 20.40 if I round up, 20.40. So area equals 20.40. Square units, whatever units it is. It doesn't say what units this is. Okay, and last one. So this one, we have two planes leave an airport. The angle between their flight is 40 degrees. An hour later, one plane has traveled 300 miles while the other plane has traveled 200 miles. How far apart are the planes at this time? Okay, so I'm just going to draw situation. This is 40 degrees, let's say, and one plane is traveling, let me make this a little longer to be kind of more accurate. One is traveling 300, the other one's traveling 200. How far apart are they? This is what we're trying to find here, okay? And so this is going to be what I'm looking for, okay? So in this situation, I have two sides. I want to find this third side, and I have this angle, and this is that side angle side relationship. I am going to have to do law of cosines. I cannot use law of sines because I don't know this pair. I don't know 200 with its angle. I don't know 300 with its angle. I have to use law of sines. I mean, law of cosines. I apologize. So let me do it underneath this. So basically, I'm going to have x squared equals x squared equals, and I am going to do 200 squared plus 300 squared minus 2 times 200, 300, 300, and then cosine of 40. I'm just going to move it for a sec. I'll give myself a little space so I can fit in my cosine of 40 degrees, and I just put that into my calculator. Now, before I put that into my calculator, this is a square, so I'm going to square root that whole entire thing. And then that will be my answer. So I'm just going to kind of push this up and put my calculator here. Okay. So I am going to do second and x squared for square root. 200 squared plus 300 squared minus 2 times 200 times 300 cosine of 40. And I end up with 195.13. So x equals 195.13 miles. And that's your answer. Okay. So hopefully this is helpful. Again, just go through the parts that you need.